Welcome back. You're tuning into Financial Fitness Northwest live on 1150 KKNW, where we help you navigate the mortgage and real estate market with expert advice from knowledgeable and trustworthy industry professionals. And next on our show, we are excited to welcome Jeremiah Job. Is a financial advisor and owner of Columbia Strategic Wealth Advisors. He currently holds 2 designations in the area of advanced financial planning from the American College of Financial Services, Chartered Financial Consultant, and Retirement Income Certified Professional. His focus is on building long-lasting relationships with clients by listening to their goals, putting their needs first, and working with them to develop comprehensive, flexible plans to realize their short, medium, and long-term goals. His clients are primarily professionals and their families in the medical and tech industries, pre-retirees and current retirees. However, he works with clients from all backgrounds and stages of life. Welcome, Jeremiah.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. We're so glad to have you. And I'm really excited about the topic that you're discussing today because, it rings true with me and my family. So a lot of our listeners are parents and mostly moms out there who, like me, might be wondering, what's, good financial habits that we can start teaching our kids now, even, our youngsters.
Well, that's a great question, Sarah. And it's one that I get actually quite often from a lot of my clients. Many of us had very little experience growing up with how to manage money or set goals, aside from having an allowance that we got for doing chores around the house. So it might be difficult for us to think, how do we teach our kids good financial habits so they don't have to go through a lot of the trials and errors and mistakes that we did as young adults?
Right.
So the first thing that I would say is that think about what type of values would you like to instill in your children. So we all have different backgrounds that we were raised from, and so certain things might be more important to us than others. So is it you want to teach them budgeting and saving, or just the value of earning a dollar? Hard work gets you an income. And the second thing is, I would say keep it simple. Don't try and overcomplicate things. We don't want it to be more like a chore. They're probably going to be doing some chores of some kind to earn an income. We don't want to make the whole exercise feel like a chore. So try and keep it simple. Maybe only do like 2 or 3 things at a time, like different types of exercises for them. Especially for younger children, you'll want to make it fun to keep them engaged. For a little bit older children, you may want to incentivize them a little bit more, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah. So like with my kids, they're 7, 4. Well, my 1-year-old doesn't get allowance. Oh, 5. I'm sorry, she just turned 5. So 7 and 5, and we just have like these cute little mason jars. And they say on them, give, spend, save. And so, they get $10. They know they're going to put $2 in savings, and they're going to put $1 in giving. And then if they can put the other money in spending. And so they just know they always have to save at least 20%. They're not spending money anywhere, but it just teaches them, and it's fun because they get to put it in their little jars. So, that's how we do it.
Yeah, and that actually aligns perfectly with how I would recommend it. Like for younger children, it's really up to how a child earns their allowance is really up to the parents. There's a number of different ways how they could earn an allowance. It could be chores around the house, helping out siblings. It could be acts of kindness or charity. It could be good grades. It's really up to the parent to decide that. And once the parent decides, how they're going to earn their allowance, how much it's going to be, and how frequently they're going to receive it, then you want to start talking about how do you save. So you want to make it exciting for the your son or daughter, and exactly how you described it is a good way to start. So either having some type of bank or piggy bank or something that has multiple different sections for different goals, or to have containers or jars that are segregated for specific goals as well. For example, giving. Maybe there's some new toy or video game or something that they want.
Right.
And then maybe a section for discretionary spending, like you take them to the store once a month and, let them go shopping, something like that. That'll help incentivize them to want to put money in there. And it also might be helpful to, put a picture of whatever it is that they're saving for on there.
Visual goal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that way, every time they put money in there, they know what they're saving money for, and it might re-energize them a little bit.
How about so teenagers? I mean, maybe when they're getting close to getting to the point of driving, or there's probably a lot of different things you can do around that to gear it more toward those teenage years.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the same concepts will apply. It's just that as you get to your kids get older into their teens, you might want to start introducing some real world concepts to help get them ready for the real world. And if it allows with their schedule, with school and other activities, I'd recommend them getting a part-time job if they're able to. It's not going to work for everybody, but
I recommend that.
If they're able to, it will help them learn how to actually earn an income and start introducing them into the concepts, for what they're going to need when they get older.
Like paying taxes, because they don't have to do that with their allowance.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And before you even get into letting your child take a job, you'll want to have a conversation about, okay, what's this money going to be used for? Are you just trying to have extra spending cash? Are you saving for something? Are they going to be saving for a car? And then also, what expenses are they going to be responsible for if they do take on a job? Are they going to have to pay for their own gas if they are driving? Are they going to pay for part of their insurance? Are they going to be saving for that select soccer camp they want to go to, or whatever it might be? So have that conversation with your kids beforehand so they know what this income is going to be used for, and having conversations like about taxes, how if you earn $100, you probably aren't going to get to keep all of that. The government's going to take some of that. But also introduce the concept of paying yourself first, and that gets into the savings idea, and that is before you even spend money on expenses, you're taking either a flat dollar amount or percentage of what you're making, and you're putting that away for some type of future goal or future savings. And that's a habit that a lot of us don't learn until later in life. And so teaching children that earlier can help them become better savers in the future.
So maybe even like sitting down and doing a budget with them, if they have a job, and going over like what their expenses are, and so they can plan for so when they go to get gas, they actually have money to get it, because when I was a kid, and you could put a couple dollars in yours and get somewhere. You could get home for sure. Yeah. That's not the case anymore. So you have to really plan so that you have the money to pay for your gas and pay for your insurance. And just like anyone has to budget, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Going through and creating a budget, like estimating what some of their expenses might be, estimating what their income's going to be, how frequently they get paid, so that they can understand that, well, if they spend more now, they might have to scrimp a little bit later. And then one other thing, like to help encourage savings for the future, is there may be some long-term goals that you as a parent you want to support. You want to incentivize them, and that could be saving for a car. It could be helping them save for, like I said, some type of activity, soccer camp. Could even be college. Maybe offer to do some matching contributions. So
that's a good idea.
Match like dollar for dollar towards some goal. And then, kids like to be praised. They like to feel like they have, accomplished something important. And so make sure to offer praise when they do achieve these various goals as well.
Yeah, I like the dollar for dollar too. And, I'm even as they're getting paid, like once a month, if you went in and match what they'd save, so they can see their account growing quicker than waiting until they've saved all the money and then matching it. I mean, that's exciting. Like, oh my gosh, now I have $200, but they're seeing it grow quicker.
Yeah.
Right. So it
sort of like
makes them want to save more.
Yeah. Like an in-house 401k, you're matching funds.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
With teens, there's two other things I'd like to, more real world concepts that I'd like to touch base on. And that really is, a piggy bank's probably not going to be an appropriate savings vehicle for a teenager. That's not cool.
Right.
So either a joint savings account with your teen or an early savers account, so they can start learning how to use an ATM card, how to go to the bank. Teens nowadays they have technology, right? So they can pull up their account balances on their cell phones if they have phones, or their iPods or whatever it might be, and check their balances on their apps, and they can even set up alerts as their balance goes up. So it can help incentivize them that way, but also still introduce them to those types of concepts. And the other concept is managing credit, which is something, unfortunately, a lot of younger people get in trouble with.
Yeah.
And so you might not necessarily want to open a credit card with your teenager, but introducing something like a prepaid credit card would be a great option, where it's either pre-funded by you or your teen, but you still treat it like a normal credit card, where, if they spend some money off it, they have to pay it back, and within a certain period of time, they may have an interest rate. And so outline some of those various concepts. Again, don't throw all these at your teen all at once, but maybe introduce these as they get the grasp of some of these other concepts as well.
I like that, because then they're building credit early.
Exactly. I like that too, because credit, that is a concern. I mean, they want to have positive credit, obviously, but it's a good way to start. I know I got my first credit card when I was 16. I got a Nordstrom's card, and I had a $300 limit on there. And
that's a lot way back then.
Way back then it was, but I was always good and would buy something once in a while and pay it off. But I started my credit, pretty early. Yeah, I know.
You're very responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's great. And then they have good credit, which is sometimes an issue when, first-time home buyers come in, they're young and in their 20s, and you have to have so many established different accounts, and they don't, because mom and dad have just been paying everything to the detriment of the child, just paying all their stuff for them, and they haven't learned, and also they haven't established any credit. So I like that. That's great.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to the next stage of life for your child, is that's, moving off to college. And so, we have to, once they leave for college, they're kind of out on their own. And so instilling some of these good financial habits before they leave is important. And for some of those older young adults, when they leave, you'll want to sit down with them before they leave, actually, and go through a basic budget with them as well. So understand when's income going to be coming in for them, what type of expenses are they going to have while they're away at school, and who's going to be responsible for those expenses. Is it going to be you? Is it going to be your son or daughter? Are they going to be working part-time while they're in college, or is there going to be a form of income coming in? And understand all those things before they leave to go to school.
I would think that a new college kid is going to have sort of a stricter budget, especially if they're getting funding from parents. They're not probably working a lot, and if they're just have their little card and they're just charging their food, they don't even realize it's adding up. It adds up really quickly. So that's really important, I'm sure, to sit down and budget with them. I mean, Thomas went through this. I mean, he's super responsible, but did you guys talk to him about a budget? He's my stepbrother.
Yeah, no, I think that, there's definitely two schools of thought, and I think, some parents feel like the kids are getting the education and focusing on their grades. That is their main job, and maybe don't have a job outside, but to some degree, I think that that's a sort of a missed opportunity for kids not to learn more. I mean, they do, eventually they will have to learn it, so it's sort of just putting off the inevitable, so I think it's good to have your kids be responsible and learn some of those financial skills early on.
Certainly there's two trains of thought there, as you mentioned, where, one is you're learning these real life skills with interacting with fellow employees and earning a living, but then also you're there to learn. And so while you're at school, your job is to learn. So, there is a kind of a trade-off there where you're spending more time doing one versus the other.
Summer job, that's always good, right? Get the summer job and work on it then.
Yeah.
And that's certainly another alternative as well. And so, but if a child is going to work or have income coming in, you'll still want to have a conversation with them on who's responsible for what expenses. Also, if something comes up, how are they going to pay for it? Are they going to raise savings? Are they going to use credit? And that brings up another conversation with regards to credit. Once they go to college, there's going to be credit card offers flying in the door.
Yeah.
And so talking to them beforehand about, what are some good options with regards to credit. So one, they're going to want to look at a card that has low interest, probably start with a card with a relatively low balance so things don't get a little bit out of hand.
Right.
And then go through the terms. So understand that how are they going to pay this off? Are they going to just, if they put money on it, are they going to pay it off at the end of every month? If not, are they going to set up some type of automatic reoccurring payment where it at least pays off the minimum so they don't get hit with delinquency or late payment fees? And also, another component is you're going to want to have a way to either transfer money to your children or for your children to be able to save and have money available to them. So finding a bank that's going to be appropriate to them near their college, that's either going to have branches or ATMs nearby so that they have access to it. Either if a joint account, that might be appropriate so you can easily transfer money between the two of you, or a college saving or student account. Those types of accounts typically have very low or no fees. So that would be appropriate. Another thing also is that, especially people who are learning how to use bank accounts and may not understand all of the repercussions, I would recommend having some type of overdraft protection on a checking account. So it could be in the form of a savings account attached where it just automatically transfers some savings in, or potentially like a line of credit attached to it. That is a little bit more risky as it will draw from a line of credit to cover any fees. It's important to understand that your college student understands that you have to pay that back off, and when money goes back in the account, it doesn't automatically pay it back off.
Well, it's probably why it's good to have the parents on the account too, because when they get those alerts saying, "Oh, you're getting close to your balance or you're overdrawn," everyone's getting those alerts because you're also on the account, so you can be calling your child.
Hey, what are you doing?
I see that you're at Target right now. You don't need that new dress. That'll be my child, Reagan. I'm sure.
Isn't it kind of crazy that they don't teach that kind of stuff in school?
It is.
It's
kind of
such
blows my mind.
important life skills. You learn all this stuff that you never use again to some degree, and then some really important things they don't even really touch on.
Yeah, why wouldn't you have? I mean, you have business classes in school. Why wouldn't you have like a finance class?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Jeremiah, and sharing all this with us.
Me.
Thank you very much. It's very informative and hopefully helping a lot of parents out there with their children. So thank you for tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest. When we come back from the break, we will have Gabe Murfitt sharing with us his story and the foundation he started to give back to families dealing with disabilities. To find out more about topics discussed on today's show, you can find us online at www.financialfitnessnw.com.